Beneath the glittering skyline of New York City, a silent struggle is taking place. Every day, while millions rush through its streets, the ground beneath them is slowly sinking, and the ocean is quietly rising to meet it. This is the untold story of how one of the world's greatest cities is fighting against time, nature, and its own weight to keep from going under. More than a decade has passed since Superstorm Sandy slammed into New York and New Jersey. Winds howled through the skyscrapers, power grids failed, and entire neighborhoods disappeared beneath walls of water. 17% of New York City was underwater. Subways were flooded, hospitals went dark, and the city that never sleeps suddenly fell silent. When the storm cleared, the damage was staggering. More than $70 billion lost and thousands of lives changed forever. But even more alarming was what scientists discovered afterward. Sandy wasn't a freak event. It was a preview of what's coming. New York's coastline stretches over 520 miles, wrapping around millions of people and billions of dollars in infrastructure. Today, nearly 2.5 million New Yorkers live in areas that can flood during a major storm. Yet storms aren't the only danger. Even under clear skies, the ocean is creeping closer. According to NASA and the U.S. Geological Survey, New York is sinking by 1 to 2 millimeters every year. Add that to rising sea levels, about 4 millimeters a year, and the city is dropping faster than anyone expected. By the end of this century, large parts of Lower Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens could flood regularly, even on sunny days. Why is this happening? Part of the answer lies deep in Earth's history. Thousands of years ago, giant glaciers pressed down on North America. When they melted, land to the north began to rise again, and the ground farther south, including New York, started to slowly sink. Then came human influence. Millions of tons of concrete, steel, and glass weighed down the bedrock. Groundwater extraction, aging tunnels, and underground infrastructure all contribute to a steady descent. At the same time, the planet's warming climate melts polar ice and expands seawater, raising global oceans. For New York, these forces are combining into a slow-motion disaster. If sea levels climb just 6 feet, a realistic scenario by the year 2010, large parts of Manhattan's financial district, JFK Airport, and even the Statue of Liberty's Island could face chronic flooding. By mid-century, 1 in 5 streets in Lower Manhattan might be underwater during high tide. The financial toll of doing nothing? Experts estimate more than $13 billion in damages each year by the end of the century. To fight back, engineers have designed one of the most ambitious coastal defense projects in American history. It's called Alternative 3B, a $52 billion plan by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Picture this: a vast network of 12 giant storm surge gates, seawalls, and artificial shore barriers stretching from New Jersey to Queens. When the next Sandy-level storm approaches, these gates would close, sealing off the harbor and preventing floodwaters from surging into the city. If approved, construction could begin around 2030 and take more than a decade to complete, meaning full protection wouldn't arrive until the mid-2040s. Supporters say it's essential, a shield for millions of people and billions in property, but critics warn that it may not be enough. Environmental groups argue that the plan focuses on storm surges but ignores long-term sea level rise, heavy rainfall, and rising groundwater that threaten inland areas. Blocking tides, they say, could harm marine life, disrupt fish migration, and trap pollutants in already toxic waterways like the Gowanus Canal and Newtown Creek. Some scientists also question whether the project relies on outdated climate models that underestimate how fast seas are rising. Others fear the massive barriers could alter natural currents and damage New York Harbor's fragile ecosystem. So what's the alternative? Urban planners are reimagining New York as a resilient city, one that learns to live with water instead of fighting against it. That means restoring wetlands and dunes to absorb storm surges naturally, building parks and streets that act like sponges, soaking up rainfall, and elevating homes, subways, and power systems above future flood levels. In some places, it may even mean relocating entire neighborhoods away from the coast. A difficult but necessary conversation already happening in cities like Miami and Jakarta. Sea levels around New York have risen nearly 9 inches since 1950, and the pace is accelerating. If the world fails to cut greenhouse gas emissions, Scientists warn the ocean could rise more than 2 meters, over 6 feet, by the end of this century. New York City is subsiding at a rate of 1 to 2 millimeters every year, according to NASA and the U.S. Geological Survey. It doesn't sound like much, but over decades, that adds up to several inches, enough to worsen flooding and amplify the effects of sea level rise. With millions of tons of concrete, steel, and glass pressing into soft ground, scientists estimate that New York's own buildings are literally weighing it down. Areas built on landfill or soft clay, like parts of Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan, are especially at risk. Research from Rutgers University shows sea levels around New York have already risen 5 to 11 inches since 2000, and the pace is accelerating. That means every new storm starts from a higher base, pushing floodwaters farther inland. A century ago, a massive flood might hit once every 500 years. Now, scientists project those same size floods could strike every 5 years by the 2030s. New York's so-called 100-year storms are becoming frighteningly normal. When rising seas meet powerful storms, water levels spike dramatically. Models show that the next superstorm, Sandy-level event, could bring even higher floodwaters, overwhelming defenses at the Battery, Brooklyn, and Queens. Satellite data from NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab reveals something surprising. Some parts of the city are sinking faster than others. Airports, coastal neighborhoods, and areas built on man-made land are especially vulnerable, while a few uptown areas are actually rising slightly due to geological rebound. Geological evidence shows that since the last ice age, land in northern North America has been rebounding upward. But areas like New York, further south, are tilting downward. This slow-motion seesaw from Earth's glacial past is still shaping the city today. According to the New York City Panel on Climate Change, sea levels could climb anywhere between 15 inches and 75 inches. That's over 6 feet by the end of this century. If that happens, much of Lower Manhattan, JFK Airport, and the Statue of Liberty's Island could flood regularly. Even the most ambitious storm surge barriers and seawalls may not be enough. Scientists warn that overtopping and breaching will become more frequent as storm intensity grows. Every inch of sea level rise increases the odds that the next surge will go higher than the last. It's not just sinking land, not just rising oceans, and not just stronger storms. It's the compound effect of all three that makes New York's future so uncertain. Subsidence magnifies sea level rise, and higher seas feed more powerful floods. The danger isn't distant, it's already here. New York City stands as a symbol of human progress, but even the mightiest skyline can't defy nature forever. The question isn't if the water will come, it's how soon and whether we'll be ready by the end of this century. That would endanger more than 1.5 million residents, forcing a massive transformation of how and where people live. The battle isn't just scientific, it's political, economic, and deeply personal, about protecting history, culture, and the lives built along these shores. Already, construction crews are raising seawalls in Lower Manhattan. Subway entrances are being redesigned, and new flood-resistant parks are appearing along the East River. Architects are experimenting with floating buildings and adaptive infrastructure. Every project is a small step toward buying time. Time to rethink the relationship between a great city and the water that surrounds it. New York has survived fires, blackouts, terrorist attacks, and pandemics. But its greatest challenge may come not from above, but from below. The city is sinking, the seas are rising, and the clock is ticking. Whether New York stands tall in the next century or slips beneath the waves will depend on the choices we make today. Can humanity's most iconic metropolis learn to live with the ocean, or will it be swallowed by it? Thanks for watching. If you found this story eye-opening, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world.